A growing and aging population, a warming planet, pressure on our natural resources. At Bayer, we believe in the power of science to cure diseases, grow stronger crops, boost our immune systems, and protect the planet. That's what we mean with our purpose, science for a better life. Tens of thousands strong, Team Bayer is active in more than 80 countries and made up of 3 divisions enabled by our functions. Every day we work to make this purpose reality. Together, we envision a world in which enough food is produced for all while respecting our planet's resources, in which diseases are not only treated but effectively prevented or cured, in which people can take care of their health more effectively. Our strategy is the catalyst. We run leading businesses in growing markets. We believe innovation is a powerful engine for growth, and sustainability and good business can and should go hand in hand. We set ourselves the highest standards and do our absolute best to deliver. Leadership, integrity, flexibility, and efficiency. Our life values are our DNA. They spark our passion to walk a mile in our customers' shoes, our courage to innovate against cancer, and our commitment to build brands you can trust. Our culture drives our business because we believe what we do shapes who we are, guided by our purpose, rooted in our values, and steered by our strategy. We won't stop working to realize our vision: health for all, hunger for none.
Muy buenos días a todos. Les
Good
damos
morning, everybody. We'd like to welcome you to this panel of institutional offers to the support of international investment, and in the framework of Colombia Investment Summit. I would like to welcome you and welcome especially Catalina Rengifo, project manager of Microsoft, who is going to be the moderator today, and a welcome to our panelists, Andres Raúl Estrada from Incoldex, Francisco Nogueira from Impulsa, Camilo Fernández de Soto of Colombia Productiva, María José Naranjo of Bancoldex. So Catalina, please go ahead. Thank you so much for that introduction and that welcome, and to all of you, welcome today. Welcome those investors that are with us today in this space of 1 hour where we will be able to tell you and inform you and corroborate why Colombia is the best destination for investment. So I would like to introduce and formally present those people that will give us the reasons, show us why Colombia is that destination. So I'd like to give welcome to Francisco José Nogueira. He is the president of Impulsa, an entity that accompanies the acceleration of entrepreneur projects of high potential and innovative processes. Francisco, welcome to the space. Thank you so much, Catalina. Thank you so much to the team of Camilo Fernández de Soto. Camilo is the president of Colombia Productiva, an entity that executes the industrial policy of the country that seeks, among other things, to improve sector productivity. Camilo, welcome to the space. Thank you, Catalina. Special greeting. Thank you, Flavia, for this invitation. Hope to convince you that you convince the other investors that they continue to bet on our country.
Creo que Catalina de pronto se nos congeló.
I
No sé si
think we lost Catalina. I don't know if you can see her or listen to her. Can you hear her? Yeah, she's frozen.
Pero bueno, aprovecho entonces también a saludar a Andrés Raúl, nuestro buen amigo presidente.
Okay, so I take this opportunity to say hello to Andrés Raúl, our president of Fedocordex, and one of our biggest allies in the country, Carlos Mario Estrada, who's general director of the National Learning Service and who's our good colleague, Francisco. It's such a pleasure to be in this panel today, giving reasons of why these investors have to continue betting on our country. Thank you, Camila. It will always be a pleasure to share with you, to share with all of you.
Bueno, perdón, y teníamos,
I'm so sorry. We also had a great ally here, Maria Jose Naranja, our VP of Bancoldex. To you, a special greeting. Hi, how are you, Andres, Francisco, Carlos, Mario? So nice to see you. We're great, Maria Jose. Thank you. It's great to be here and share this panel with you. Likewise, Maria Jose. Such a pleasure. Carlos Mario, greeting to you. How are you? I'm great, thanks. How are you guys? I'm good, thank you. We're waiting for Catalina. Yes, we're trying to solve technical issues with Catalina, our moderator, and we're trying to rescue her. But thank you so much for continuing with the presentations. I don't know if you want to give a brief introduction of the entities where you work at, so that we can give time to let Catalina enter. But maybe we can start with Colombia Productiva. If you could tell us very briefly what the entity does and what are the services for the business persons and investments. Of course, I would like to tell all the business people that Colombia Productiva is an entity ascribed to the Ministry of Tourism and Industry, and it works to promote productivity and added value to our companies and help the investors so that they can have a development program for suppliers. And we do this with immense allies such as Bancoldex, with the SENA, which is the National Learning Service, Impulsa, ProColombia. So we would like to tell you that Colombia Productiva is that ally to produce more with better added value. Great, thank you so much. Let's continue with a brief introduction on behalf of Bancoldex. Maria Jose.
Estás en mute.
You're on mute. Thank you, Alexandra. Bancoldex is for the everything that has to do with the internalization of the country. And of course, we welcome the investors in terms of financial operations and how we can help them land in Colombia. We are basically the bank, the development bank that finances micro and small and medium enterprises with a channel that is the bank, which the whole financial system, and micro businesses through microfinancing entities that you know them very well and that can approach them. So that's what Bancoldex does. So it's focused on large companies, export, and SMEs. And also it's the executor of public policy. That's what Bancoldex does. Great, Catalina, you're back. Welcome back. And I give you the floor. Please excuse me. So sorry. Something happened that normally doesn't happen, and I had a power blackout, so I was left without internet. And this never happens. But this years that we've been working remotely, we've learned to solve things, and I think that makes us. This makes a perfect moment to start this panel. So I would like to start with Carlos Mario Estrada. Carlos Mario, how are you? So it's so nice to have you here. So let us talk a little bit of that role that SENA has. SENA is one of the key elements of that human talent. When we make that decision of investing, when we make those investments, it's that level of knowledge of the workforce of a country and the use of technologies that marks these decisions, because ultimately this is trend in the world. So I understand that SENA plays a key role in the training of the workforce in Colombia. And in this sense, we would like you to tell us, Carlos Mario, how from the entity that today you are leading helps train the human talent according to the needs that the different investment companies have in the country. That is a major role that you have. Good morning, dear Catalina. For me, it's a pleasure to greet you. And of course, I'd like to greet the president of Colombia, Dr. Flavia, who invited us, and my colleagues for the panel, Dr. Raúl Guzmán, president of Fedocordex, Francisco Nogueira, president of Impulsa, and Maria José. All the investors and foreign companies and government entities and all those who are with us in this transmission, where we will talk about the institutional offer to support the companies that are making foreign investment directly to our country. With regards to your question, Catalina, the training that we carry out in SENA responds the needs of the different productive sectors, and it allows the trainees and workers to insert successfully in the market force. The curriculum are based on the highest technological and teaching standards so that our students find dignified jobs and stable and formal work, as the Mr. President Ivan Duque's manifest, as well as to create companies and promote the social and economical development of a country. So the offer responds to the different needs of the productive sectors. In the framework of this fourth revolution, industrial revolution, where each call changes every quarter. So let's think of the following. The changes that are being generated in the workforce. A recent study of the World Economic Forum concluded that in the next years, we will lose around 80 and 50% of jobs in repetitive tasks that are currently done by humans. But the most important thing is, likewise, the observatory says that 130 million of new opportunities will appear associated to the different areas that can form the 4.0 revolution, such as AI, big data, service analysts, drones, virtual reality, blockchain, machine learning, nanotechnology, and cybersecurity. That is a competency that is being demanded by all the companies of the financial system and the different companies that are arriving to our country. So they are requiring these people, youth, citizens that have basic ideas of cybersecurity to protect their data. Other areas such as the 3D printing and robotics are demanding many roles, many people, of Colombian people, that have these competencies. And likewise, they are part of these new work options, the professionals that are in charge of taking care of humans, and with emphasis on renewable energy that are non-conventional, like biomass, wind energy, photovoltaic energy, geothermal energy, and biogas. And in fact, Catalina, in January of next year, there will be 160 instructors of the Senate to China, and we will work and we will hand in hand with that giant that is China to execute the geotrace in the city of Bogota that will allow to communicate Bogota with FACA and other municipalities surrounding Bogota. They will go to China to acquire this knowledge so that afterwards they can replicate and train trainers and train trainees that will be linked to the building of the geotron of Bogota. And that, as well, part of these new work roles and these new demands on behalf of the companies that are located in our country, the development of source code, basically 7 languages: Java, JavaScript, Python, .NET, HTML, C, C++. So these are demands of the companies, requirements of the companies that are settling in our country. And Catalina, the alternative of technological education, satisfies adequately the requirements of human talent of the different sectors, economic sectors, because we understand that we need to go from education to the revolution of the 20th century to the fourth industrial revolution of the 21st. As well as the most dynamic sectors of the economy. And in this, we have established alliances with the technological platforms of e-learning of Microsoft, Amazon Web Service Education, LinkedIn Learning, Oracle, SAP, both Lego Education, and with organizations that contribute to the actualization or to the modernization of the different training environments of institutions such as Samsung, Huawei, Siemens, Nemo, and those giants of European cybersecurity based in Madrid, Spain, who are helping us to modernize the learning environments of the SENA, especially in mechanics, that right now we have combustion motors, and we are conscious that quickly we have to migrate to electrical motors, which is a trend that is being developed in the next years. And we are also working with Ecopetrol, with Telefonica, and other companies that are global leaders and national leaders. These alliances allow us, through the complementary education, to create strategies into routes that we create collectively with Victor Munoz and when Dr. Carlos Enrique Moreno was also in the government. One in development of programming to certify 300,000 citizens for 2021, and the other route implemented by the standard was dominated digital citizens of the 21st century that was oriented to the training of 5 million citizens in Colombia with skills related to the resources and technological businesses, self-management, and production, among others. And with all our services are completely free and they don't require any intermediaries. We also have complementary courses with a very high demand, such as English, computing, digital photography, methodologies of business software, C++ programming, among many other options that companies require throughout the planet. And of course, the companies that, international companies that are arriving to operate in our country. So SENA is prepared for the present, but it is ready for the future. Exactly, Catalina. And that fourth industrial revolution that you're saying, Carlos Mario, with those amount of new jobs created, the new opportunities of these specializations in cybersecurity, that those specializations, and when I say specialization, it's people dedicated exclusively to AI, to understand the behavior of the people. But you said something very important, and it's that it's not just studies that have to do with the information technology sector, but transversal studies in every other sector. We see tourism, how they are developing capabilities so that the people that understand of tourism have those tools, those technological tools that will lead us to a new level, that those certifications. And what you said that I think is vital is those citizens, digital citizens, that make those investments, those different campaigns that are being carried out, and those decisions that are being made in the country are supported on a talent that is ready for the future, a talent that is ready to respond to the fourth revolution, the fourth industrial revolution. So I would like to continue talking about productivity so that we talk with Camilo Fernandez de Soto. Camilo, welcome. We know that many companies at the worldwide have the characteristics of the intermediate services and intermediate products as a key factor when they're making decisions from where to be and where to invest and why stay. How can Colombia Productiva help so that the suppliers, local suppliers, comply with these requirements and standards that the global companies need. Thank you, Catalina. I think that your question is very helpful because in Colombia Productiva, we have two programs that are directed to elevating the level of local productivity, strengthening those supply chains so that the international companies, the anchor companies here in our country, can find suppliers each time that comply with those requirements of the market. We have to place ourselves in the shoes of consumers that we're demanding more and more each time. And so the companies have to work in that sense. In first place, we have a program that is called Alliances for the Reactivation. This is a program for development of the suppliers, and it's the biggest scale program in the recent history of our country. And we have resources of $10 million that is for the Colombian suppliers, thanks to the support of Abu Dhabi Fund for the Development. And here what you're saying is very important. This program seeks to close those quality gaps in logistics market requirements so that the companies can convert or can turn into competitive suppliers. They can enter these regional and global value chains, and they can help so that when there's a strengthening of the competitivity based on quality, they can then advance to be part of this supply chain. This program additionally combines two things that are extremely important. The first one is the technical assistance that is specialized and supervised by the sectorial teams of Colombia Productiva, with something that is incredible, that we work in alliance with Bancoldex, with financing solutions fit to these needs and structured by the team of Bancoldex. So it's a perfect combination, technical assistance with financing. And the second program is something extremely important. So to place you a challenge that we have as a country, the last survey from DANE talks of that our country, less than 10% of the companies have been certified of either their process or their product, so that an anchor company can start to receive these new suppliers. We need to help elevate the quality of our companies. So for this, we have a program that's called Quality to Grow. And what we seek with this initiative is to scale the impact that our companies have in every aspect of quality. Here we have an integral strategy that provides processes of strengthening, of technical assistance, of co-financing for the certifications. And again, we work jointly with Bancoldex so that we have financing lines for quality. So I would summarize this very simply, Catalina, and it's this way. We have a program exclusively for the development of specialized suppliers, and we want to share you to this slide to see the magnitude of the project. I think that you are seeing the slide. Yes, we can see it. And what does it show us? Sectors that are specialized, of high potential, with which we will develop more than 2,500 suppliers with very important investments. The next thing, we talked about Quality to Grow. We're multiplying 34 times our impact through training programs, technical assistance, and regarding co-financing and certification, and working with Bancoldex jointly to provide that financing. So we are very happy to tell the investors about the specialized offer that we have to strengthen the suppliers. Camilo, an offer without a doubt that is transversal. You saw on our slide and what you were telling us that the the support of Colombia Productiva goes through all the sectors. That what we're seeing is betting on the competitivity through the support to improve the quality, keep quality, and be able to maintain those standards that the companies need. And at the end, the consumer requires the demands. But I would like to highlight what you said, those entrepreneurial aspects, that ability to manage new resources. And here I would like to talk with Francisco Nogueira. Francisco, welcome. And regarding the investment funds that are today accompanied virtually, for the attractiveness of the investment is very important. And we have projects with impact and with objectives that are aligned with the sustainable development goals. And that is each time more representative for the companies that decide to invest in different countries. And in this sense, what are we doing from Impulsa Colombia to attract investment to these types of entrepreneurial projects? Lina, thank you so much for that question. And effectively, regarding the impact investment, the role of the different companies and entrepreneurial projects regarding their support to the economic growth and also to the compliance with the sustainable development goals, especially social and environmental ones, it's very important. And here there are 3 minutes that I would like to highlight. First, how from the commercial sector in Colombia, we are promoting all the agenda related to the big societies. Industry and commerce. And from this perspective of innovation, we have joined from Impulsa because we are convinced that in the measure of that the companies from their earliest stages incorporate good practices and they can support these interests, they will have better alignment with this trend that you are showing us. In Colombia, we have more than 800 companies that have these social and collective benefits. And this is part of a global trend that is manifested through the B certification that in Colombia is led by System B. We have 72 companies with these B certification, and this is part of this conversation. However, in order to complement that with the view of investors, we can also see with great interest how more and more risk capital funds and funds that are supporting the entrepreneurial projects in different stages have investments aligned with sustainable and impactful investments. That second view of the investment, we've seen it materialize in Colombia recently through the creation of, for example, the National Advisory Board of Impact Investment Fund that is part of the group, the global group of impact investment called GST. And that trend is also complemented with the discussion that is each time more in depth of the supports and of the companies and entrepreneurial to the alignment and complying with the SDGs of the Agenda 2030. So those three views, the companies, the investment, and the general framework of the 2030 Agenda, and the support of the private sector to the Agenda 2030 is a conversation that we have put under an umbrella that we call the impact ecosystem. Last week, we had, along with the ministry, with the program of the United Nations for Development and MAP Colombia and the funds that are part of it, with Sistema B and with all the strategies of the big society, we had a first event to trace a work plan to generate this ecosystem and these impact and representing the opportunities for investors in our country. We had with us representatives of many funds of the region. We had also a complete day of work. And to answer your question and how from Impulsa we are creating a series of mechanisms oriented towards these types of investments, we have what we call a sectorial circle where we are creating a community of different entrepreneurial projects at different stages that are working with, such as circular economy, green business, chaining in the rural sector that are positively impacting vulnerable communities, and in topics regarding education, such as health, how entrepreneurial projects can provide to these topics. And we have these funds, and we're building, along with these allies that I just mentioned, a work agenda that has to do with incubation, acceleration, visibilization, of all these projects, and how ultimately we pretend to position our country as an ecosystem that is very robust, entrepreneurial ecosystem that is more and more aligned with that 2030 agenda that, as you indicated in your question, is an undeniable trend and is a focal point that the funds that are assessing investment in entrepreneurial projects in a country such as Colombia.
Impulsa, entonces, estamos impulsando el emprendimiento
So Impulsa is actually acting to give an impulse to startup culture. Now that we're talking about talent and our capacity to foster talent as part of the fourth industrial revolution, is this talent future-proof? Of course, it's ready to receive investment. Our capacity to have an entrepreneurial spirit, to use these resources to achieve the objectives we have set out. And now I'm going to put on my lawyer's hat. I'd like to talk about some of the legal aspects. Investors often have a very pertinent question. And that question is, how easy is it to create a business? How easy is it to start working in Colombia without having to create a whole new company to attract foreign investment? Mr. Guzman, what are the innovative solutions that Fedocordex has in this sense? How do you make it easier for investors to enter the Colombian market? Thank you, Catalina, and good morning to everyone. Warm greetings to Flavia Santolo, the president of ProColombia, for the opportunity to speak before you today. I'd also like to greet my fellow panelists. Before diving into the topic at hand and answering your question, I'd like to take advantage of this forum and talk about Fedocordex. We're a mixed economy company. We're subscribed to the Ministry of Commerce, Industry, and Tourism. We've been working for over 30 years. This fiduciary company was born alongside ProExport, which is currently known as ProColombia. And our job is to be the spokespeople for the productive enterprises in Colombia, such as Fontur. We are the main motor for the development of sector-based fiduciary policy. And it is for this reason that we are creating mechanisms that are unique in Colombia. This is what we call governmental company trust funds. You don't tend to find these types of instruments in the market. There are similar instruments in Mexico, but as it stands, we are the fiduciary company that has the most experience working with these government business trust funds. You've already heard Camilo and Francisco, who have spoken about their objectives and their results that they've obtained thanks to their programs. Our company's objective is to provide for these types of initiatives the financial and auditing support that they need, as well as in topics such as security. And we do this so that they can carry out their work and achieve their objectives. Objectives that they have achieved as the heads of their organizations. The law grants us, fiduciary companies, the capacity to create mechanisms that allow for businesses to invest in Colombia without having to found new companies. This is basically what we do when we create autonomous companies. Autonomous companies consist of three actors that are involved in a particular enterprise. There is the trustee, which in this case would be the investor, and we have the beneficiary, who can be the trustee themselves or a third party.
Inversionista unos atributos muy importantes y es sobre lo que se mueve hoy Fedocordex.
This implies a series of benefits for investors,
Transparencia.
which is why at Fedocordex we've developed transparency and confidentiality mechanisms.
Instrucciones, recibe
These autonomous companies that are created in Colombia receive instructions from the trustee.
para la adquisición de activos.
So, for example,
El patrimonio
a potential
autónomo
investor might want to invest in Colombia to
de los activos.
work, and then we would allow them to create an autonomous company with a trustee and a beneficiary.
Patrimonio autónomo
If they want to bring financial resources then to invest in Colombia, then the trust fund would work as an intermediary and allow them to do that.
tiene unos
So it's a
factores
relatively simple instrument
y es por,
that
entre otras cosas, Catalina,
implies
el nacional
great responsibility and also great risk.
autónomos
It is for this reason that the government sees these autonomous companies
y por supuesto
as
todos
a robust tool.
al potencial inversionista para que vea que acá bajo las
And
normas
we want to bring these benefits to potential investors and help them with the different administrative organisms that work in Colombia. We have robust and very efficient mechanisms that will allow for investors to bring investment funds and capital to Colombia at a very low risk. So this is just one in a long list of benefits that we have for people who want to invest in Colombia. We have a series of well-proven mechanisms because ProColombia, Colombia Productiva, and Fontur have been working for over 30 years. And we are more than capable of providing foreign investors with benefits in the fields of commerce and industry. Thank you so much. So support that helps and promotes investments. Making investment easier to carry out doesn't necessarily mean that there is a high degree of security and transparency. So I think that what you're doing is the perfect solution to promote investment in Colombia. I'd love to continue talking to you, but I'd rather turn the floor first to Maria Jose Naranjo from Bancoldex, not only because I love what they do, but also because I'm all for female representation in forums such as this one. Bancoldex has been working for over 12 years in private capital funds. How can your institution support the arrival of new investments to Colombia? Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me to be here as well and be part of the female quota. And I'd also like to thank the fellow panelists for providing information that I may build on for my presentation. Our bank has been working in private capital and venture capital for over 10 years because we understood that it was very important, or at least very convenient, for an investor to have equity. An investment that is initially given as capital and later invested and built on with later revenues or other forms of acquisition and interest. And these are very interesting tools for foreign investors. For over 10 years, Bancoldex has said, all right, let's support and promote foreign investments in the country. So Bancoldex invests in private capital funds and venture capital funds that will then invest in Colombian businesses. And we've been doing that for 10 years. In 2019, we leveled up our tools and we became an investment fund where we replicate our experience from abroad. So Bancoldex is the manager of a fund that receives and welcomes investors. These can be either local or international investors. And what Bancoldes does is we have a team that's been working for over 10 years. And we take these people with this expertise and tell them to look for seed money startups or venture capital startups or private capital startups. And we ask them which are the best funds for Bancoldes to invest in, so that these funds can, at the same time, invest in technology development companies or other companies related to the SDGs. Anything that can have a positive environmental impact. Women, cultural projects, creative projects as well. What we call the orange economy. So what Bancoldes does is, through its venture capital funds or its impact capital funds, we invest in companies where there is potential for growth, reactivation. And what's interesting here is that a company will then be able to receive capital as well as loans. We have invested in over 16 national and regional funds. And through our investments, over 150 companies have benefited. They've been able to improve their governance, their corporate quality standards. They've been able to improve their internal functions, because it's like getting a breath of fresh air. And this ensures that they will allow for better corporate governance. Over 50% of the companies that we've invested in are Colombian, and they've received 1.2 billion Colombian pesos, because by investing in them, these companies become more attractive to other forms of investment, and they will receive then more funds. The idea is that in the following 4 years, the bank is hoping to invest through venture capital funds or through private funds or seed funds and reach over 250 companies that will be able to grow thanks to this tool that we're providing for them, which is extremely interesting and will at the same time widen our portfolio. And we hope that this is attractive to foreign investors who want to reach Colombia. Give them a landing point inside the country. So foreign investors are welcome to invest in this fund of funds as an investor, or in the regional funds directly, which will then reach mature or growing companies. Of course, the different funds will have their own portfolios divided by sector or growth level. Our bank loves the green economy, the orange economy, anything that will support the SDGs, and especially things like gender equality, which will increase social welfare and which will lead to the country's economic recovery. Yes, what you're saying is very true. And it's true that you're supporting these foreign investors. I'd like to stay with you for a second, because we had a previous conversation where you talked about this support, this direct line that is being extended to SMEs. Because this funding for SMEs helps them improve governance. How does that work exactly? How can this product help investors who are already present in Colombia? Well, this will just allow me to continue talking about our bank's portfolio. On the one hand, we have equity, which we already mentioned, and now I'll talk about loans and credit. A couple of years ago, the bank decided to allow for direct loans and direct credit, rather. This might sound odd, but for Bancoldes, it's perfectly normal, because Bancoldes is just giving resources through the financial system, channeling it through the banks to the different companies. A couple of years ago, Bancoldes decided to forego all this and give direct financing to companies and projects that will increase the international attractiveness of the country, that will help achieve the SDGs, who supports social welfare and gender equality, and who will generate positive externalities. These projects will then be able to receive direct financing from Bancoldex. So now we can either reach these projects by going through the financial system, or we can go directly. And we've invested over 15 billion pesos in that sense. Recently, we had a conversation with a first floor bank. And now first floor banks can invest alongside us, or we can just invest directly. What is the added value of these types of direct financing operations? Well, it's deadlines and income. This credit has a very long due date, and that's where we become more relevant. There's something else which is very interesting for investors or companies that have a natural interaction with the dollar because they're international companies. Our fund has benefits when it comes to foreign exchange rates. We interact with the with international markets in dollars in the long term, and we can transfer the benefits of this work to projects that might need dollars in the short, medium, or long term. So that's why our direct participation is often very useful in Bancoldex. What we're trying to do is spur growth in the different regions through large-scale projects. And so this is a call to action for all of you so that we may have a conversation with investors about financing. I hope that we can spur growth not only here in Bogota, but also in the different regions of Colombia that badly need economic growth. So yes, you want to be the catalyst of conscientious growth based on the different requirements of the different countries, the different sectors rather. Andres, I'd like to turn back to you for a second, because I can't stop thinking about the fiduciary model, because this helps streamline administrative fees and so on. But you have other products. What other products does Fedocordex have available for international clients? A financial portfolio, I would say, is a tool that reaches the expectations of investors and business owners worldwide. We have approximately 15 financial solutions. And I would say to any investor who wants to bring capital into Colombia that there are 3 of these tools which are particularly useful. Financing for investment, for example, is a tool that allows foreign investors to invest in different sectors in Colombia, especially if they are financial products. We are experts in finance, in managing third-party financial funds. We handle over 9 trillion pesos currently in our portfolio. And we work with economic research and financial research. And what we do is we sit down with a potential investor, we present a range of alternatives according to their desired level of risk or their desires in the country. What we do is we make tailor-made solutions according to the investor's needs and wants. And after that, we create different types of assets that will guarantee an adequate management of their financial instruments. Then we have financing for management and payments. This is also a very simple tool. What happens is the fund receives instructions on how to handle payments. This is also very useful for investors who want to enter Colombia and who will have to deal with different types of providers as part of the value chain. Another tool that has become very popular recently is the fact that we handle over 65 trillion pesos in a tool called collective financing. These are mechanisms that must, of course, be managed by a third party who is qualified in handling high-risk investments. This is true of Fedocordex. We have the highest rating of risk management when it comes to how to handle risky ventures. These types of tools of collective financing allow for third-party management of investment funds, who then handles the investments in different opportunities. And then they use the funds of a family of investors to create a collective fund. As you know, these funds don't have a guarantee of immediate incomes, but it's well integrated with the rest of the financial system. We've strengthened our capacity to handle collective investment funds. Our company is specialized in security, trust, and transparency. Speaking of these three values, there's something that's related to that, and that's support and help. And there's another word that I've been wanting to hear, not because you don't really talk about this, but because I haven't asked you about it, which is why I want to turn to Francisco. How does Impulsa help investment companies who are already present in Colombia? How can you scale up investments for these companies that are already in the country? Thank you, Catalina. It's as you say, our portfolio of services for established companies in Colombia includes tools such as the Mega Link In project, which allows us to link up with companies and identify possible avenues of investment. It also allows us to match our clients with open investment opportunities. In today's day and age, that's especially important. Companies such as Ecopetrol, for example, work in open innovation projects to accelerate their digital transformation through collaboration with startups and different types of processes in different stages, as well as incubators. This model of open innovation is also being put into place through a network that we've created. The idea there is to identify collaboration opportunities between established companies and corporations in different sectors of the economy and startups and smaller, younger companies who have been going through a digital transformation more easily and quickly, and who may help these larger, older companies in their digital transformations. These open collaboration initiatives help develop the innovation economy in Colombia as a whole. So a message for all the investors who are listening to us today. Our ecosystem of innovation allows for collaboration between different sectors of the economy. We can promote collaboration with the digital economy and who can exchange knowledge and opportunities with established companies to strengthen our investment ecosystem. I love the fact that you use the word collaboration, because innovation depends on collaboration. It depends on the ability to share best practices and share our knowledge. Thank you, Francisco. Now, I'd like to move on to Camilo Fernandez again. Sometimes procurement operations for multinational corporations are very complex. In order to fulfill these specific needs, does Colombia have a specific service to offer? Because our companies, our investors are interested in this. Thank you, Catalina. Well, I'd like to focus on two things. We have a recent project, Alliance for Reactivation, is structured for the 12 sectors where economic recovery will happen. So we're working on the needs of the different sectors, such as construction, fashion, cosmetics, tourism, plastics, the automotive sector, chemistry, aeronautics, and so on. That is the focus that we're focusing on. But we've also been working on something, which is why SENA is one of our main allies. Our projects for collaboration are the most important in Latin America. Why? Because here we have factories that can be used as the essential tool to strengthen our economy along 9 lines of work. So if an investor needs to have providers working on logistics and energy efficiency, quality control, digital transformation, operational productivity, through us, they can meet with these providers directly so that we can strengthen our capacities. I'd like to show you a slide very quickly so that you can all see what's going on exactly. Because our productivity factories go company by company and improve and give impressive results. I'd like to show you this graph. I'd like to highlight the participation that we have with the different companies. There are over 1,000 of them who are linked to this project. And they have seen noticeable improvements in operational productivity. On average, the indicators of the companies that work with this project are above 30%. And this is not just us saying it. An external auditor came to these same results, one of the most important auditors in the international stage. And as you can see, all of this information is freely available, so that through this project, we can add to the value chain. So you can count on Colombia Productiva to improve on a sector-based capacity and work on mainstreaming different capacities. We have other projects in this sense as well. We have alliances with SENA and with other ministries who are working along the same lines. So we have an open invitation to investors. Please accept our invitation. We have a portfolio that is very large. We have a well-articulated public sector that uses projects that they can use so that they can see Colombia as an attractive prospect.
Industrial, Camilo, como nos hablaba y nos decía ahorita Carlos Mario.
Attractive destination that is prepared for the fourth industrial revolution. But Carlos Mario, I have a question to ask, because when we start to train our talent for those technologies that are arriving, that are transforming, that are changing our sectors, we have a process that you explained and the courses and all the types of tools that our talent can access. But we all know that technology changes quickly and that the multinationals must answer quickly to those requirements of talent that they have. How does SENA support investors installed in Colombia so that the collaborators can actualize their knowledge in these new trends of work, what we call reskilling? How can we do that? Well, I must emphasize, Catalina, that in the first decade of the 21st century, the biggest challenge for the educational institutions is to form holistically through the instruction in technical knowledge, digital abilities, and likewise it's important the development of competencies, citizen and emotional competencies like related to respect, teamwork, adaptability to change, ethical behavior, critical and innovation thinking that allows our students to solve problems, the capability of expression, and the constant service attitude, discipline, punctuality. In that fluid dialogue that I have with business people from Asia, from Europe, and North America, they critique very much the impunctuality of Latin America. For that is disrespect and makes their productive processes to create bottlenecks and lateness. So that's why in SENA we are promoting punctuality in our students, emotional intelligence. That is to say, we are conscious that in this world of the fourth industrial revolution with disruptive changes will create very tense moments inside the organizations. And that is why we need our students to express their emotions. Even if the situation is very critical, we have an emphatic position so they don't lose their patience. So, Catalina, we have the obligation to face the complex world context, which includes the fourth industrial revolution, COVID-19, economic crisis, high unemployment, and poverty through two ways. They're framed in two concepts that are going to be present in the education of the next years: upskilling and reskilling. Upskilling to survive, and this consists in developing new skills and competencies for our work or current position. For example, if I'm mechanic in combustion motors, I'm upskilling when I learn about electrical motors, and reskilling it's to create the future. So it consists in developing skills and competencies for a new position or work. If as a mechanic, the owner of the workshop makes me manager, then I'm reskilling when I train, when they train or I train myself to deploy my leadership skills, strategic leadership, or maybe administration of the human staff, negotiation with the supplier. So in this context, according to the UNESCO, we have to apply basic knowledge of learning to learn. That is to say, acquire the knowledge and selective memory and thought with the conviction that we are learning from all the experiences throughout our whole life, and how the Americans say lifelong learning. And so we need to learn to know how and adapt for the future work market so that we can implement that knowledge and influence in the environment. Something that I think is essential, Catalina, is learn how to do things. Be good human beings. This is corporate and development, spiritual and bodily of the person, and that sensitivity and those ethical and aesthetic senses, so that we have an autonomous thinking and we have our own judgment in a process that starts from the knowledge of oneself and opens to the relations with others. Learn how to coexist so that we can work and cooperate with others in all human activities through respect. So let's not accuse each other and respect each other, hear each other, interpret each other. And if we want, value each other, value the thought, the way another work colleague presents a solution to a problem, but we should learn how to coexist. And to coexist, it is key to have that social emotional competency of respect, dialogue, tolerance, empathy, so that we can attend common objectives. And finally, we can learn to start being entrepreneurs. That is one of the key aspects of our government from Ivan Duque, entrepreneurial projects, startups, so that we can have different alternatives to do things, defy the stability of the routines, and implement new projects and ideas. As well, Catalina, we must remember that the Evelyn Toffler's thought that manifests that the illiteracy of the 21st century is not the people who don't know how to read and write, is those who don't know how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And in that, direction in the SENA, we have described 31 alliances of cooperation, mainly in areas of digital transformation, sustainable development, green employment, and bilingualism, where we have trained more than 20,000 people between trainees, instructors, administrative staff, startup business people, and consultants. And these allies, we see giant techs such as Siemens, Bosch from Germany, and I mentioned Nemo before, the multinational. We also have the multinational from Mexico Territorio and one from Japan, in which we strengthen the competencies and the training of the Colombians in technologies 4.0, but also to promote the rural sustainable development. We have allies such as FAO, the Institute for Latin America, ISLA, and we have the Global Institute for Green Growth and other experts, which we're developing projects for sustainable tourism, as you mentioned initially, Catalina. We have specialty coffees, renewable energies that are non-conventional renewable energies, which I think is one of the biggest accomplishments of our government with President Ivan Duque. So these alliances that have helped us evolve regarding the circular economy and rural aspects as well. And I also have to highlight an alliance with Gender Approach. Last year, we carried out a project with Silvina Muccini, which is the female that is among us with internet, the most representative in the technological world in Latin America. She's the only Latin American woman that is a unicorn. She has more than $1 billion in funding in that very masculine world of Silicon Valley. And through this alliance, which she worked, we are training through this alliance. We're training in 15 regionals in training that has to do with digital marketing. And this year we once again signed this agreement with President Ivan Duque, and we are hoping to train 15,000 women in essential skills for remote telework with the Chamber of Commerce Colombia America to promote the employability of these women, strengthening their knowledge in web and data analysis with bootcamp, and connecting them with companies from this sector. Ultimately, this training of continuous education in SENA provides opportunities to the productive sector that provide with taxes for and social security for the countries so that they can present projects made to fit their needs. So this specialized continuous education program required investments above 41 billion pesos, and it's destined exclusively to those trainings that are specialty trainings that are required by the different productive sectors and that are in the portfolio of the SENA. And so we train them for whatever they need so that they can train us as well. A series of things, Carlos Mario, or offers that we have for the investors, that we can make sure that our country, we have the required talent for the investors, but not just the trained talent with those hard skills or with those capabilities for the different technologies and different sectors, Carlos Mario, but as you mentioned, that talent, that trained talent with skills that are future-proof, that guarantee that you don't only have the best teachers, the best trainers, the best learning roads to have the tools, the adequate tools for this fourth industrial revolution, but they are beings that are capable of learning about empathy, that know about assertive communication and everything necessary in this fourth industrial revolution. It has been more than an hour, so it has been fantastic. We've talked about upskilling, reskilling, financing plans, innovation, quality, transformation, and above all, accompaniment. Because if there's something that I see when I talk with you five, it's that company that decides, or those people that decide to invest in Colombia, they will have not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but a large quantity of entities that are accompanying that decision-making process and that process of arriving to the country and staying in the country and continue to improve with the investments in Colombia. For all of those who have been with us today, thank you so much for this space. Thank you so much for your time, for listening to us, for giving you the opportunity to find 1 and 5 and many more reasons to invest in Colombia. Maria Jose, Camilo, Francisco, Carlos, Andres, thank you for this space and for sharing with all of us those that as Colombia we are offering to the world. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you, Catalina. Thank you once again to ProColombia and to the investors that we're waiting for you here. Thank you. Bye.